Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Busy day ahead. Of course, we do this, then we do Simply the Bets, and then tonight you come down to Mother's Peninsula Grill in Arnold to hang out with us for the Tyus Bowser Show. It's a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's memorabilia. It's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill and Maryland Vascular Specialist. Tonight, Tyus Bowser is joined by Marcus Williams, will be his special guest. Obviously looking forward to getting Marcus Williams back out on the field. Be good to catch up with him. Got off to an incredible, a stellar start to his time with the Baltimore Ravens. Now hoping to build off of that. We will talk about it. I don't know who Desmond Jennings is, Griffin, but we do need to update that. We don't have anyone coming on today named Desmond Jennings. Desmond Armstrong is going to join us. I'm not sure who Desmond Jennings would be. I think if I know a Desmond Jennings. I do not. I don't think. Think that through a little bit longer, but I don't think I do. Tonight, 7 o'clock. Come join us, Mother's Peninsula Grill in Arnold. Not a part of town where very many shows head to. So you're on that side of the world. This would be like your chance. So come join us tonight at Mother's Peninsula Grill in Arnold for the Tyus Bowser Show. Looking forward to being there. It is a Tuesday. Patrick Stevens is going to join us a little bit later on. We'll talk about a big week for Maryland basketball. Tonight against Louisville, Friday against Illinois. Some of the other things that have happened both locally and nationally in the world of college basketball this week. Our buddy Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football analyst, is going to join us a little bit later on as well. Is Jelani Woods available in any of my leagues? I feel like that could maybe help solve some of my tight end problems, of which I have many. Back-to-back weeks where my tight end position produced me 0 points. Actually, I don't think it was 0. I think Robert Tonyan got me 3 the previous week. So 3 from Robert Tonyan, 0 from Jawan Johnson. Tight end stinks, but we'll talk about that with Joe Serpico. And as I just mentioned, we're going to preview a big one for the U.S. today, obviously, against Iran. Not Iran. Make that abundantly clear. Iran. This afternoon, 2 o'clock. We have reached the portion of the World Cup. This TV has been sitting on the floor here in this office for, how long have we been working here? 6 months now? What is it? Well, we moved in July. No, so it's not been 6 months.
4 months?
5 months.
5 months.
5 months, because we're at the end of November. 5 months sitting on the floor. Now, in fairness, I have not taken the time. I have not had the gumption to go ahead and hang it myself and to run the cable or anything like that. But it'd be really nice this morning to be able to. Did I bring my iPad with? Maybe I can put up. I'd like to know. There's 2 matches that are happening right now as we've reached the portion of the World Cup where you have multiple matches played at the same time so that the outcome of one isn't known and teams can't decide what it is they want to do based on the outcome in the other match. And that's terribly relevant for the U.S. and their group later on this afternoon, as everyone has a chance still of advancing. No one has been eliminated going in. Of course, the U.S. knows very clearly what it's got to do. It's got to win, or else there is no path. They don't win. They finish in a draw today with Iran. It's over. We will talk about that with Desmond Armstrong, former Maryland men's soccer standout, Maryland native. Of course, played in the 1990 World Cup for the U.S. We will chat with him a little bit later on this hour as well. So all of that coming up today. A couple of things right out of the chute. Number one, I need more of you. Thank you to Patrick Lund, who just got in this morning. We are over 80% of the way. We are closing the gap. Today is known as Giving Tuesday. After Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday and Black Friday and, I don't know, Eat Till You Die Sunday. I don't know what they call Sunday. Whatever these days are called, today is known as Giving Tuesday. And we are asking you to give to the Helping Up mission. And we are hooking you up. We are giving you gifts as a thank you for your generosity. We've got great raffle prizes, an autographed full-size Ravens helmet from Calais Campbell. We've got an autographed Trey Mancini print, courtesy of our friends at Grade 8's Memorabilia. We're going to have another one, and I think now I can tell you that it will be signed by both Tyus Bowser and Marcus Williams tonight, but I will work on that if you can't make it out. Some great raffle prizes. But what we need from you is we need $25. And that $25 we're going to spend on getting toiletries and underwear for the men and women that are trying to pick their lives back up and put themselves back together at the Helping Up mission. We need you to help us help helping out. I said that incorrectly. Help us help helping up. Help us help out helping up would have been good too, but not what we're going with. Help us help helping up. At Glenn-Clark on Venmo. At GlennClark180 on PayPal. GlennClarkRadio@gmail.com finds me on PayPal as well. On Cash App, just $GlennClarkRadio. I need you to get this done. Now, there will be another way for you to get in after this week. We want to have this locked up by Friday because come Friday, we want to announce the third portion of how we're raising money. We, of course, did a couple of World Cup draws, and we're going to do a bowl pick'em again this year as well. We've done that the last few years. I'm going to set some numbers to it, but it'll be the same thing. It'll be 50-50, half the money to charity, half to the winner. I'd like for us to get 25 people involved at $20 a pop. That gets us to $500, right? That gets us to $500, so $250 more to the Helping Up mission. If we can go bigger than that, if we could get 50 people in, then we would be able to raise $500 more for the Helping Up mission. That would be wonderful. But we will get to that after we finish this. And we are really getting close. Thank you to a few of you who have gotten in with multiple spots. My man Chris Vaxakis got in 4 spots. Cotter Vendagelad got in for like 20 spots in the raffle, which is fine. As I've said, you can have as many spots as you want until it's filled. Thank you. So many of our regulars have jumped in. Nick Kelly jumped in. Ben Graver jumped in. John Keller jumped in. So many of our regulars have gotten in. If you're someone who listens, we need you to get in. I'm going to get to a point come Thursday or Friday where I'm going to start calling you out by name if we haven't filled this thing up yet. I'm going to start naming you by name. I need you to get in for $25. You could be the raffle winner. You could get an autographed full-size Calais Campbell Ravens helmet. A Calais Campbell autographed full-size Ravens helmet. My brain and my mouth need to sync up a little bit better today. You could be the winner. Worst case scenario, you've donated $25 that is going to go to lifting up the folks at the Helping Up mission, the people who need it most this holiday season. So I need you to get in. No more wasting time. No more, oh, right, I saw Glenn talking about that. But no, none of that. I need you in. I need you helping us helping up. Worst case, I need you to go to @GlennClarkRadio on Twitter. I need you to retweet the pinned tweet. I need you to share it out to everybody else. I need you to help us find other people that will helping up. I need you. If you're a part of this thing of ours, I need you because I got to finish this. The goal is $3,000 because the folks at Target and White Marsh have told us they'll extend that a bit for us. The goal is $3,000. We've already got 320 of it from the World Cup pools. If we get to 2,500 here, we're left with the only needing about $200 more from doing the bowl pick'em. And then we're there. We reach our goal. It's a very attainable goal as long as we finish filling this. And we're very close. We are down underneath 20 spots remaining. So get in for 1 or 2 today. Please. Because I don't want to have to derail the show again for the rest of the week. I'd really like to just be able to do the show and not talk about this. But this is what we're going to do until this is filled. We need you to help us help the Helping Up mission. Got it? Get in today at Glenn-Clark on Venmo, at GlennClark180 on PayPal, Cash App, $GlennClarkRadio. That's how you get in. If for some reason you're uncomfortable with any of that, email me, GlennClarkRadio@gmail.com. Say, I don't know, man, like, I'd kind of rather, I've had people tell me before, I'd kind of rather give directly. That's fine. Nobody is opposed to that. But if you give directly to the Helping Up mission, they've got to use it for The way that they use that money has to be a little bit different. We are trying to give directly to the folks who are at Helping Up Mission. You might have seen yesterday that a number of Ravens players made a trip to the Helping Up Mission to try to help lift up the folks who need it, including Lamar Jackson. Justin Tucker was there. It was awesome. I shared that on my Facebook page if you didn't see it. It was an incredible day at the Helping Up Mission as Ravens players made the trip to lift up those in the community who need it most. Incredibly powerful thing. Awesome. Grateful that they did that. So please help us. Two things really quickly. One, Lamar Jackson, since I brought him up. John Harbaugh addresses it in his press conference. I'll go one step further. I do think that the right thing to do would be for Lamar Jackson to send out a tweet just saying, hey, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. And I think the likelihood is it'll come up in his press conference tomorrow, and he'll probably say that. But I do think that getting ahead of it wouldn't hurt, right? Like, just say I shouldn't have said it. It's still – I'm still not like that. I kept reaching out to more people that I know in the gay community yesterday, and I still could not find anyone – who thought it was appropriate for what he said to be labeled as anti-gay. I'm really kind of stunned that ESPN stuck with that as the day went on. I'm really kind of stunned. I think there's a lot of ways they could have massaged that or changed it or just done whatever they wanted to do. I get it at some point when you're in journalism, well, hey, we're going to stand by what we said, but I just don't think it's defensible. I don't think you can defend labeling that as being anti-gay. There's other things that can be said. It's certainly not appropriate. There's no question about that. But anti-gay was a step too far, and I still don't blame Lamar Jackson for being bothered by that being the word choice that was used to describe what he said on Twitter. But John Harbaugh says they met about it, they talked, everything seems to be good there. And I did it oddly. I just happened to do a couple interviews around the country yesterday, and it's sort of what I said. If that's the biggest problem you deal with your quarterback, I think you're going to be okay. I think if the biggest problem is him sniping at somebody on Twitter, telling him to EAD, you're going to be all right. There are far bigger problems. I don't know if anybody's familiar with, who's going to be starting at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this week. It's not okay. It doesn't make it acceptable. It doesn't make it something that I want to see Lamar Jackson doing, but I think we can all be adult enough to understand why it's not that big of a deal. Last night, the Colts played the Steelers. Irrelevant game, obviously. In the NFL, these teams are bad. You should feel bad for watching them, right? But this is football. We all watch. That's the way that it works. There's only so many games that are played every year, and football is this country revolves around football. So I'm watching last night, and unsurprisingly, I'm seeing and hearing from the broadcast and on Twitter, Jeff Saturday get murdered for the Colts clock management at the end of the game, which is really fascinating to me. Because I don't think we talked about it much, but I don't much care for Jeff Saturday getting a head coaching job in the NFL. And I guess, it's not really a head coaching job. It's an interim coaching job, but still, it's not an opportunity he deserved or he had earned in any way. I think it was inappropriate. I know that it's dealt with one of the other factors that we talked a lot within coaching circles, which is the difficulty for black coaches to get these jobs that they have earned and they do deserve. Meanwhile, Jeff Saturday doesn't deserve the job, hasn't earned it, and gets one. Now, again, it's a weird situation. He wasn't made the full-time coach. He was made the temporary coach and probably given the opportunity to earn the job. So I'm not a Jeff Saturday fan. I'm not rooting for him. And I, like a lot of people, am happy to be critical of Jeff Saturday. But what we're doing when we talk about what happened at the end of the game last night is way off the mark. We're pretending like there was some sort of clock crisis at the end of the game that did not exist. And what we're not thinking about is whether or not, because we don't want to give any credit to Jeff Saturday because he didn't deserve the job, whether or not he was actually thinking 2 steps ahead of everybody else. When Jeff Saturday says we didn't have a clock problem, he's not wrong. The Colts had all of the time in the world. With 30 seconds left and 3 timeouts, you are not in a crisis in any way from where they were on the field. I mean, if they were at their own 20 at that point, then, yeah, that wouldn't have been so great. They didn't have a clock problem. In fact, it was almost the opposite of that. They ran 2 risks. The first risk being that if they do score, they leave time on the clock for Pittsburgh. How many times are we going to do this until we realize you've got to do everything in your power to try to suck the life out of the clock? The Ravens got, 10 seconds with the ball back? And damn near it was enough to win against the Jaguars. 10 seconds. Of course, we all remember what happened in Kansas City Buffalo last year. We saw what Buffalo did last week against the Lions. Any amount of time at all is enough. Now, I get it. Kenny Pickett is not Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. I understand that. And you might be dubious of the idea that if the Pittsburgh Steelers got the ball back with 20 seconds left, they'd be able to move into field goal range. But the difficulty of playing defense in the closing seconds of a game cannot be overstated here.
But why not have a good play call for 3rd and 3?
Why do you think that was a bad play call to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor on 3rd and 3? Why do people think that was a bad?
You got hit in the backfield.
It didn't work. I understand that it didn't work. I'm so confused by why people think that was a bad play call. Have you heard of Jonathan Taylor?
He's not been the same.
Fine. I mean, yes, he hasn't been.
Offensive line has not been as good.
Not quite as good. I'll agree with you on that. So they don't ever run the ball? 3rd and 3 is a bad time to run the ball when you know you're going to go for it on 4th down? That's a terrible time to run the ball? We're just saying anything to try to make our feelings justified because we've decided that a timeout should have been called there. Well, that was a bad play call. No, the 4th down call, I'll say, was probably a bad play call. Pinning everything on a pick working on the outside instead of maybe trying to use like the middle of the field or something underneath in order to pick up short yardage, I think that's a bad play call. Having everything rely on getting someone to release to exact spot, there not being any pressure, something that takes a little bit of time to unfold. On 4th down, I think that's a bad play call. You could argue that would have been a better play call on 3rd down, that the play that they called after a timeout was worse than the one that they called before a timeout. Could they have called a timeout there? Sure, I guess they could have. I don't think it hurts them. But pretending like there was some sort of clock crisis because we don't like Jeff Saturday and not considering the thought about trying to make sure that there is no time left for the Steelers to go beat you is dumb on our part. I'm not telling you it's the right answer. I don't know what the right answer is. That needs to be studied a little bit more. But we're just throwing stuff out there. Because either we don't like Jeff Saturday, or because we heard Joe Buck and Troy Aikman screaming on the broadcast, so we convinced ourselves it was fact, and we didn't consider the totality of the situation. You can't keep leaving time on the clock. NFL teams, what are we screaming about in Baltimore? Should Josh Oliver have gone down to the 1-yard line? We're screaming about that. Because we know that giving time to your opponent is a problem. Now, as I've said before, that situation was unique because the Jaguars still had timeout. You wouldn't have been able to suck all the rest of the clock off. You would have given the ball back to somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds. So, it's not an obvious answer. You got to be willing to think about this. We got to be willing to have bigger conversations and not just join the group think, got to call a timeout there. Why? You can't convince me that that's an easy answer. We're of course celebrating and enjoying the fact that sports betting is now available via your phones, your computers here in the state of Maryland. And we want you to wander over to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to take a look at all of the great offers that are available to you for sign-up bonuses with various betting companies in the state of Maryland. Lots of great offers, lots of chances for you to get free bets, easy odds, no risk bets, things along those lines. And at the same time, you help PressBox earn a small commission, which helps us keep the lights on. Not that, I want to make it very clear, not that we're in danger of turning the lights off. I want to be abundantly clear about that, but it helps us, and we appreciate that. So PressBoxOnline.com/offers is the website for you to check out and for you to sign up as you try to collect all the best offers here in the infancy of mobile sports betting in the state of Maryland. All right, let's switch gears. World Cup continuing today, this afternoon. Big one, must win for the United States. Joining us now, a man who represented his country in the 1990 World Cup. He is a former University of Maryland standout and a Maryland native. He is the great Desmond Armstrong, and he's with us now here on GCR. Desmond, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's been too long. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Always a pleasure, Glenn, to get on your show, talk to you about soccer in America.
It's so good to hear your voice, man. It's been far too long. Hey, before we get into the World Cup and all that, get me caught up. What's going on with you? What's life look like? Are you still down in Nashville?
I am. I've been here now for 10 years. I've built a soccer program down here called Heroes SC, and I've gone into the city of Nashville. And I'm not on the outskirts where most of the soccer programs exist, but I take kids that are refugees, immigrants, as well as, typical Americans, and we put them on a team and we go out and compete. And I'm now connected with Nashville Soccer Club as a outreach club, meaning I'm bringing kids from the urban areas into their youth academies.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited about that. Yep, and excited about the growth of the sport in this country.
Tell me a little bit more about that, Desmond, because it's globally, I think soccer is one of the most unique. If melting pot is the correct word, like there's almost no sport that is more represented globally than soccer is. But where are we in this country with representation within the sport?
Well, I think, there was an article done most recently in regards to Washington Post. Stephen Goff had written about the diversity, the change of the face of the national team as a precursor to the growth of the sport. Back in my day, I was one of two African Americans, and now we have maybe, 14, possibly. I didn't do the real counts, but there's 6 to 7 that are starters now, as opposed to just one black guy on the field, and that's just African Americans, and we have Hispanics as well. And so my point here is that I think that we've come a long way, but I think that we have to go further as we prepare for 2026 in this, that soccer right now, and even in my generation, existed in the suburbs. And so the team that you look at today that's playing against Iran is a suburban team. I mean, those players are suburbans. There's nothing wrong with that, but we really haven't tapped into the urban areas. And with MLS existing, meaning their teams existing in major cities, there are no clubs, youth clubs, that exist necessarily in the city. All of the youth academies of the MLS and all of the clubs in America exist outside of the city. And there are players that are in the city. I'm telling you, there are players, whether it be here in Nashville or even back there in D.C., Baltimore. There's a history of players that exist in the city that don't necessarily make it out to academies because, one, the path is it's a pay-to-play model that has to change if we're to tap into all of the facets of our talent that exist in a big country like America.
I completely agree, and something that I'm glad that people like you are stepping up and saying, hey, we're going to try to bridge that gap and make sure that we can find the absolute best athletes that we can to play this wonderful sport and help represent us in this country. I think it's a wonderful thing. Desmond Armstrong is with us here on GCR. Desmond, as you mentioned, obviously today, Iran, a huge moment because it's a great opportunity. But there is an awful lot of pressure now on a match like this, right? Like I don't know if we're used to being in this spot as a country where like you're supposed to win, you're supposed to advance now after what you've done so far. Are you at all worried about a young team, coming off what I hate celebrating draws, but we have to be honest, that was a remarkable draw for them against England on Friday, and they played really well. Are you at all worried about the pressure of this moment and now the expectation of them winning and advancing for a really young and largely inexperienced team?
Yeah, I think this team is as young as the team that I played on in 1990 by way of age, average age. And so the difference here, though, obviously, is that the players that exist on the field are so much more experienced in that we have so many of them that have played or are playing in Europe at top clubs. They're not just in Europe, they're at top clubs. And so I think that the issue of pressure relative to their stated age is not necessarily a concern. I think that they are aware of that type of pressure. I think they're aware of the expectation. I think that my caution comes with this. Even though they're aware and have played in pressure cookers before with their various professional teams, it's a different thing in regards to going out there and playing against a nation. And I'm saying, as we faced Iran, those players for Iran have a sense of nationalism that we don't necessarily have. I don't think that our players, all the rhetoric in playing for my country and it's great representing the USA and that's wonderful. And we're going to go out there and give it our all. That's different than I represent all of my people, not just my mama, my papa, my brothers, my aunts and uncles. I represent an entire nation. And that's what they're going to come up against. On top of, they've got to win this game. I think that you alluded to the fact that we performed very well against England. But I will say this, that England didn't really take the brakes off and really come after us. That's not to take anything away from the American presence, the way that we played. We had possession. We had some surges. We are a better team in terms of presentation of identity on the field by way of style of play. But I don't think that England actually took the brakes off. I think Gareth Southgate is too conservative. He should have brought in Phil Foden. And they have so many attacking weapons that he really didn't go to it, and he didn't need to per se. And that's not to take anything away from the Americans in our performance on Friday. This is totally different today. Okay, this is facing a team that's a number one team in Asia, and we're talking about a team that is number one in front of Japan and South Korea. Okay, those are two very, very good teams. And so I think that different than 1998, which was similar. We had come off of 94. We were on a rise. Soccer has grown in America. Here is our time again in the World Cup, and we're playing against a team that we really don't know anything about, but we should beat them. We should beat them. We're in the same situation right now. Everybody believes that we should beat them, and not so much we should. We have to beat them.
Right.
So we have to beat them. So the question becomes, how does Greg approach this from a tactical perspective? I think he was spot on against England, the way that he set up. But now we have a situation where, this team's going to bunker in and try to counter. I perceive this. I'm anticipating this. So now, how do you approach that? Do we have the players that can break guys down off of the dribble when you have a team that's sitting back and waiting? Do we have proper distribution? I have to give it up for Tim Ream. I thought to myself a couple of years ago, this guy's not quality enough to play at the highest level, but he is playing at the highest level for Fulham. He starts. He's a team captain playing in EPL, 34, 35.
Yeah.
And he's got it on lockdown. He distributes the ball very well out of the back, but on, his partner, Zimmerman, National Soccer Club player, poor distribution, poor decision-making, I don't believe is of quality to play at this level. But, can they hold it down? Can they distribute and get it to the players that can break the defense of Iran? And that means off the dribble. This is what I believe. Christian Pulisic has the ability to take the ball and turn and run. Can we get him into positions? Do you bring in Aronson, who has high energy? And then do you move Tim Weah to number 9? Because that guy, Tim Weah, is like when he tries to cross the ball, he's actually shooting, in my opinion. That's all that guy knows. He reminds me of Joe Max Moore back in the day. If Joe Max Moore picked up the ball at the corner flag, that dude was shooting. He didn't know a pass. And that's not to take anything away from Joe Max Moore. I love Joe. But here we have a situation where Tim Weah, man, I think that he needs to play at the 9. And so if they bunker in, we have to put the ball over the top, allow for him to run in on the ball, and then, possess it, if not go straight to goal. And then everything opens up. Get it back to the outside and use the energy of Aronson and Pulisic to run at them. And then as they run at them, a defender has to react. You have to shut him down. And if you break him down, then that opens up space when you have a block 5 or block 4 that you're trying to get behind.
Boy, you just really laid everything out for me. You've already skipped through the next 3 questions that I was going to have for you. Desmond Armstrong is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. But I think the big takeaway that I'm coming away from that is, look, expect Iran to pack it in today, and this is going to require remarkable individual effort. And we bring up, you keep waiting for the moment for Christian Pulisic, right? And my God, he was centimeters away from having it on Friday. It felt like it was there, like the coronation that everybody has been looking for some time, that today might truly be the day that it's most needed for him to finally have the breakthrough that we've kind of been waiting for with Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, that's true. And there's some weight on him by way of that expectation. But I have another player, I think, or two. I think the midfield was tremendous. And McKinney, he surges forward. He has no fear. None. He has no fear. I don't know that he gets enough credit for his surges forward. He's like, I'm not fazed by anything. Just give me the ball and I'm running with it. Or I'm going and I'm going to try to score. The other player that I think is a quality player is Musa. Not a lot of fanfare for him, but he does a tremendous job. And he's the type of player that has enough grit that he can tackle, he can pick up a ball, he can run at you, he can distribute. And I think he has the ability to potentially score if they start striking balls from distance, which they may have to do because Iran may sit back on them. So you're going to have to draw them out by way of shooting from distance. I think McKinney might have the opportunity and potentially the ability to do the same. And that still frees up, Pulisic and also Aronson, who has, huge energy. Mm-hmm. I think that kid was, that kid was probably like an ADHD type of kid, and they made sure that he was on the soccer field and, to quell all of that energy or to make use of it. That's not a disparaging comment. I'm just saying he's got a great energy. And so with all of that said, Adams does well in terms of, holding it down right in front of the defenders. But I will say this, Dest, I believe is a solid little player. He did very well against Sterling last Friday. They were of the same stature, same type of quickness, and he did well. I would like to see him get into the offense. And when we're talking about, breaking down a defense that sits back, typically you have to go on the outside, and that means you have to isolate 2 against 1, meaning 2 wingers, if you will, an attacking winger as well as the number 7 on the right-hand side against the left back to give you a numerical advantage to get behind them, a 1-2 or off of a dribble. And so I would like to see him go forward. And then the kid on the left-hand side is Anthony. I would like to see him go forward as well. He's a great athlete, not too technical, but he's a great athlete. So you play him in. You play to our strengths, and our strengths are going to have to be maybe, playing over the top a few times, and then as the ball drops back, shooting from distance to draw them out. And then once that occurs, then you can play short ball and get off the dribble. So, I'm looking forward to what the approach is going to be. It is a huge game in this, that we do need to get past the first round. This is the last game. If we don't win, we don't go. It's not a tie.
Yep.
We can't settle for a tie. We have to win. And so that means you got to throw everything that you can in order for us to win. And having a mentality, and I was listening to the women commentators, Carly Lloyd and in particular, And she's got a winning mentality. You can just see it on her when she's out there.
Yeah, she knows a thing or two about
commentating.
winning, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, she's got it down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's got it down. And coming off the bench, and I think was misused a couple of times. They should have started, but she was like, forget it. I don't care if I start or not. Once I'm on the field, I came to win. I'm going to score. And so she speaks from a context of winning. And so with our players, this is a real litmus test for us. Can we win? Not just to your point with Pulisic. Is he going to light it up? Is he going to step forward? Does he have the character to win? We get past this World Cup, depending on how far we go, and we get prepared for 2026. And I don't want to hear, we have all this talent and, we're making so much strides. I've been hearing that mess from, for 30 plus years, ever since I came back from the 1990 World Cup. Come on. Okay. Now it's time to deliver. We have to win. We have to win. And we have to have a mentality that we are going to win. We're not going to show our potential. We need to win. And then after that, then we can talk about, okay, now we need to win in 2026. Okay, but don't give me we did a great job and all that other stuff. Right. No, we need to win.
You're kind of laying the gauntlet down. This is a failure if it finishes 1-1 today. This is a failure for the U.S. at the World Cup.
Absolutely, and this is not to take Iran lightly. Again, Iran has and I played with quite a few guys at the University of Maryland that were from Iran.
Yeah,
highly skilled. I played in the Cleveland Force with Ali Khazemani. He was an all-star player from Iran, tremendous player back there. Omid Namazi, who used to be the assistant coach for Iran underneath Carlos Queiroz for a number of years. He was a great player and highly skilled, on top of the ball, can pass. And so the question becomes, we have to lock it down. We have to win. And that's where I think we talk about the growth of the sport in the United States has to go to. We have to win. We have to have the mindset of win. Even against England, we have to win. There's no moral victory for tie. Look where we are. We tied. Okay, where's the moral victory out of that? Where are the points?
I'm with you.
We have to go to the last game. We have to win this game because we tied on Friday.
Got work to do, major work to do, and I love the mentality, Desmond. I love it. Like it's time, man. It's statement draws and gutty efforts and playing well enough. Go win a match you need to win, and you should win. And you're 100% right. I don't want to be disrespectful to Iran at all. Look, they deserved a win over Wales. Clearly, I know it helped that they were playing with an extra man there to get the 2 goals, but. This is a match you should win 100%. I'm completely with you. Desmond, before I let you go, can we plug anything? Like, is there anything that you guys could use help with what you're doing? It's of course, Giving Tuesday. Is there somewhere people could go to donate to what it is that you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We've just become a non-for-profit. So I would say go on our website, which is Heroes FA, as in Football Association.com, and there should be some information there in which people can now donate to help us grow the sport in urban neighborhoods. Awesome. We pick up our kids from Section 8 neighborhoods, put them together. I've been financing. Bank of Armstrong has been financing a lot of these teams and players for years, but now we're at a point where we need to draw money for the express purpose of getting them uniforms, getting them on teams, paying for transportation, and giving them an opportunity to use the sport to take themselves further in life. As I say, soccer is not going to solve all ills of society and is not designed for that. But what it can do is be used as a tool to take you much further. It's taken me all the way across the globe, and I'm very, very thankful for my career and just my inclusion in the sport of soccer.
We had a couple of listeners who checked in. They're ready to hire you as our next national team coach right now, Desmond. I don't know if you're still interested in the job, but I mean, let's maybe not run Greg out just yet. Man, I am so appreciative of the time as always, my friend. Howard High alum, University of Maryland, National Soccer Hall of Fame, even briefly once upon a time with the Baltimore Blast. He is true bona fide Maryland guy. Desmond Armstrong, always a thrill, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
The great Desmond Armstrong, man. I love that. I loved that. Enough. Because I got to be honest with you, there's a part of me that was ready to say, like, how are we supposed to react? Honestly, on the list of questions I had for Desmond Armstrong, how should we react if it finishes 1-1 today? Do we say, hey, this is a young, inexperienced team. They went out there. They represented well. They got back to the World Cup after the disappointment. And he's like, no. You have to win. This is a failure if you don't win. I'm inclined to agree. You can say whatever you want about getting a draw against England. It's still a draw against England. Like, you're still not saying you're ready to go beat top international competition. You played a draw. You had chances that you weren't able to convert. You have to show that there is a next step. Fired up, man. Fired up. All in. Let's go. Thank you, Desmond Armstrong, for taking the time for us this morning. Today's show also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. If you're headed to the game on Sunday, stop by the Game Day Firehouse, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium. Sample some cooking from the Ginsu Kamado Grill. Register to win your own as well as $500 worth of grilling meats, and you can always save $100 when you use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com. Still to come this morning, we're going to talk Waiver Wire Wednesday. We'll preview a big week for Maryland basketball. That's all on the way. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The weather outside is really unpleasant, so it's time to warm up with some comfort classics this winter at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Try the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. It's 2 full pounds of meat, the mac and cheese bites, Mr. Richards meatloaf, the citrus salmon, the winter spinach salad, and for dessert, here's internet radio personality Griffin Bass to tell you about the bourbon butter cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. Place your order now at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Tuesday edition of the program. Taking a look at some information. Jonas Schaefer just wrote something for the Baltimore Sun. Of course, a friend of ours, Ravens beat writer for the Sun. By the way, today's show, I guess, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I was skipping ahead because I'm interested in this. Today's show is also brought to you by UMBC basketball. The Retrievers have a big one tomorrow night. Great night to be at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Experience game day at the Peak for a huge local matchup. Coppin State, UMBC tomorrow night. Of course, also coming up on December 10th, UMBC Morgan State, another great local rivalry. The UMBC women take on American on December 18th. Again, you got to experience game day at the Peak, Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. For UMBC basketball, find out more. Get your tickets by going to umbcretrievers.com. So Jonas Schaefer sends out a story, and it includes a graphic, just taking a look at how late in the play clock, essentially, and it's a specific, this graph, and there's a story that accompanies with it, and I just dove through it as much as I could during the break. The graph says the Ravens lead the NFL in the rate of play snapped with 3 seconds or fewer on the play clock this season. Note, data reflects plays from only the first 3 quarters of games completed by November 27th. Now you'd say, why would that be the case? Well, that's simple, because once you get to the fourth quarter, if a team has a big lead, they're going to end up purposefully snapping the ball later in the play clock, and it's going to skew these statistics. So that was one of the first things that jumped out at me when I just saw the graph, and I needed the information that went along with it before I could react to it. So it's not skewed at all by game situation. These are the plays specifically when game situation is not necessarily dictating. So the Ravens, by far, close to 35% of their plays in the first 3 quarters of games through November 27th snapped with 3 seconds or fewer on the play clock, which backs up everything that we felt. The plays are coming in late. They're getting off late. The Ravens are flirting with disaster. They're getting bad penalties. There's something wrong here. And to the point, there's only 2 other teams who have even more than 30% of their plays snap that deep into the play clock. What's interesting is that there's not really a correlation between that and bad offense. For example, the Packers are next. I get it. Not the best season for the Packers. The Dolphins, who we all know to be one of the best offenses in football, are third on the list. I don't know what the actual value of the stat is, and I'm not trying to say that to take a shot at Jonas. It's because we have to this backs up things that we feel. We feel as though the Ravens have a problem with when they're snapping the ball. We feel as though this is what's wrong with Greg Roman. So we're easily going to jump on this and say, oh, damn it all to hell. This is why this guy's got to go. But as I said a number of times, I don't know what the actual value of this is. The part that I have been told is that part of the story for the Ravens is that they wanted this to go deeper into the play clock because it speaks to what they want to do time of possession-wise. Now, that's unacceptable when it's leading to delay of game penalties. And the Ravens have experienced, I believe, 6 of them now on the season. Something like that. It's unacceptable for this to go beyond the end of the play clock. And there's, of course, other situations where did the did the play not get off correctly because there was some panic at the end of the play clock? There's a deeper look into how this is happening. Is it about the plays coming in too late? Is it about the communication of the plays? What is the issue? But the part that we don't want to talk about is how much of an issue is it? And the Dolphins, an offense that everyone in Baltimore would be thrilled with. Anyone in football would be thrilled to have the Dolphins offense right now, are third on this list. Also, over 30% of their plays being snapped with 3 seconds or fewer on the play clock. So, what have we learned? And this is the tricky part for me, because I'm not telling you that I'm not trying to tell you it's a good thing at all. I don't think it's a good thing. I definitely think it's unacceptable for there to be delay of game penalties. But should the Ravens be trying to go with more tempo, on the flip side, there are 7 teams who snap the ball with 3 seconds on the play clock or less at 10% of their snaps or fewer. Those teams are the Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, Bears, Buccaneers, Chiefs, and Lions. Well, obviously there's a lot of good in there, right? Of course, the Cowboys are a very good offense. The Chiefs are the best offense in football. But the Bears? I don't know that we have a correlation between being a good offense and when you're snapping the ball. It's a weird thing. It's something we know we don't like. It doesn't look good, and the penalties are a problem for sure. Of course, in the second half, the Ravens on Sunday, here's a weird thing, right? The Ravens fixed this at halftime. You can roll your eyes about how long it took, but this wasn't an issue in the second half of the game. And yet they lost. So I don't know what the answer is here. It bothers me too. I don't like it. But I don't know that there's a direct correlation between when the plays are getting off and the success of the offense or the success of the whole team. Because the data doesn't really tell us that. And the flip side that we've been talking about, where the Ravens have determined that time of possession is a thing and that it matters to them. Is there a trade-off to that with you saying, well, let's go up tempo. Let's try to spark. Reed and I talk about this all the time. Let's go up tempo. Let's try to spark the offense. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. But is there a trade-off there? I don't know. I need more data than just this. This backs up what we all know, which is that the Ravens get plays off late in the clock. Well, we know that. We've all seen that. What we don't know with certainty is whether that's the problem that faces this team or not. And this data doesn't do enough to me to say, clearly, you can't win like this. I mean, it's going just fine for the Dolphins. Exceedingly fine for the Dolphins. I don't know what to make of it. I know how we're going to react because I know who we are. And I know who we don't like. And I know how this works in this city. John Proctor. It's almost like the time of snap is less important than executing the play at a professional level. I don't know that when the ball was snapped was why Demarcus Robinson started easing up on the run downfield and didn't continue on a run to give himself a chance to make that catch. By the way, I was critical of the throw Josh Oliver made. A lot of the people that have gone back and shared out film of the should have been touchdown in the end zone have pointed out that Josh Oliver also eased up there a little bit. Now, again, I still think Lamar had the opportunity to recognize that and put that ball in a better spot for Josh Oliver to catch it, but I don't know what was going on there. I don't know how it justifies Mark Andrews dropping a ball in the end zone. And you can say, well, the Ravens scored on that play anyway. True. But what if they didn't have to run another play there? What if maybe they had 5 more seconds at the end of the game to try to get another snap off? I don't know that it explains why Demarcus Robinson dropped the ball. I'm with you that I don't like it. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the way an offense is supposed to execute. But to say it's specifically the problem that the Ravens face, I just don't know if that's true. And I don't know that this data is well said, John. It's what a politician would use. These numbers support the narrative I want you to believe right now. If this is your narrative, you're going to jump all over this. And instead, I'm going to ask you, is it a problem that the Dolphins are doing this so much? Should they fire their offensive coordinator? And again, this is not me telling you that I think Greg Roman's doing the best job in the history of football. I hate the fact that that's what the reputation becomes. I don't think the conversation is simplistic as you want it to be. Well, this stinks. You gotta get rid of this guy. He can't get the plays in on time. Well, what about in Miami? Explain that. Is that their problem? Because they look pretty good to me. And the teams that are snapping the ball quickly, they're not all very good. So you figure this out. I cannot. I don't know the answer to this. I think it's interesting. I think there's something there. And I definitely think the delay of game penalties are extraordinarily problematic. I think that's far more relevant than this statistic. Not a sermon, just a thought. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you to Andrew Skalski for getting in with his raffle donation to the Helping Up mission. Moving right along. Under 20 raffle spots remaining. Need you to get in. $25 for the Helping Up mission. At Glenn-Clark on Venmo, Glenn Clark 180 on PayPal, $ Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App. Get in. If you need to do it a different way, I think Steve asked me once before. He said, can I just mail you something? That's fine. If you're one of our older listeners, absolutely, I'll work with you. We'll figure out a way to get it done. If you want to get in, support the Helping Up mission, please, this Giving Tuesday. Thank you to Simon who shared it out with everybody. Need you to share it out. Need you to spread the word. We need to finish this. Let's get this done. Today's show is also brought to you by, this one's brought to you by the print issue of PressBox, still available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Kevin Willard's on the cover for this print issue of PressBox. When we come back in, we will preview Waiver Wire Wednesday. Please find me some tight end help. Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst, is next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 29th at Mother's Peninsula Grill, 969 Ritchie Highway in Arnold. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The weather outside is really unpleasant, so it's time to warm up with some comfort classics this winter at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Try the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo. It's 2 full pounds of meat, the mac and cheese bites, Mr. Richards meatloaf, the citrus salmon, the winter spinach salad, and for dessert, here's internet radio personality Griffin Bass to tell you about the bourbon butter cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider or a devil's backbone cranberry smash. Place your order now at glorydaysgrill.com. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Casey Schulman makes a good point over on YouTube. You can't make a correlation. I would expect good offenses would snap under 3 seconds as they were reviewing the defense and making audible calls at the line of scrimmage. And to that point, I had somebody else reach out on Twitter and say, I don't think it's the snap time that is as significant. It's about when you get to the line. There were some people on Twitter that were telling me that there might be another graph that's out there about when teams are getting to the line in the play clock that they think is more damning for the Ravens than the snap time necessarily is, because to Casey's point, getting to the line later leaves you with less time to be able to review the defense and try to make adjustments at the line. So if somebody can present that to me, if somebody can find it to me for me at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Glenn Clark Radio at Gmail, however you want to get in, if you can share that with me, I will certainly be willing to react to that, because I do think that is I still don't think it's end all be all, but I do think it's relevant and probably more relevant than this graph that was shared. Not to take anything away from Jonas Schaefer, because the data is good. I just don't know that it's fully relevant to a correlation with whether or not your offense is good exactly when you're snapping the ball within the play clock. And again, it's sort of dictated by the fact that the Dolphins snap the ball very late in the play clock as well. All right, today's show also brought to you by your local Chick-fil-A restaurants, the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants. If you're looking for a simple holiday meal, try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. Can we please find a tight end who can help me a little bit? Let's talk a little bit about Waiver Wire Wednesday. I am hanging on by the skin of my teeth for playoff hopes. Our buddy, Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst, with us now here on GCR. Joe, I'm begging you. I'm desperate. I tried Jawan Johnson last week. Gentleman's zero. How in the hell am I finding help at tight ends?
Oh, God, that's actually what I put in my piece this week. Here's your weekly plug-and-play option, kind of hope for the best kind of thing. Tight end has been absolutely miserable outside if you have Kelsey. Even Andrews hasn't put up the numbers that was probably expected of him coming in this year. But, yeah, tight end as a whole, I think I talked about this last week. We kind of thought there would be like a few maybe sleeper candidates. Yeah, there's been anything but this year, to say the least.
Is Jelani Woods worth putting a claim in for?
No. No,
Okay.
dude, none of these one hit wonders kind of guys. He did it a couple, or I believe earlier in the season he had a game where he had 2 touchdowns. Kind of tease people a little bit and then fall off the face of the earth. That kind of seems to be the reoccurring thing at the tight end position. One week they can be relevant, don't hear anything about them, then they pop up for a game or two, and then they disappear again. Kind of, if you don't have Kelsey, you're kind of really holding out and hoping for the best, basically throwing darts at the board and hoping something sticks. And at tight end, it hasn't really been the case for much of the year, regardless of who you're putting in there. With even the injuries to some of the bigger names, it's really, really muddled down that position, and it's kind of been hard to watch.
Yeah, for the record, I was a Darren Waller owner. I did try to find a tight end at the beginning of the year. Just hasn't worked out for you, boy. Has not been the case. All right, well, who is worth exploring on the waiver wire this week? And I begin by asking you to tell me, what is a Zonovan Knight?
Well, I'm trying to avoid that whole Jets situation right now, just because who has any idea what they're going to do next? Little bit of surprise that James Robinson was a healthy and active this past weekend, so that obviously boosted up on Knight a little bit on the depth chart to get him some playing time this weekend. Now Carter got hurt. Sounds like he might miss some time, so I'm sure Robinson will be back in the mix. They still have old Terp Ty Johnson up there. I thought honestly he would get a lot of the work once Carter went down, but it looks like they were splitting it between the two. But it's kind of hard to kind of know what's the Jets' game plan of running back now. Again, with Robinson being a healthy and active, do they just let him take over that, or is it Knight's job the rest of the way, or is it a committee approach? So something to kind of avoid, at least for the time being. Now, this time next week, we might be talking something a little bit differently.
You say that. Is it worth stashing him after the waiver wire?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Again, just kind of want to wait and see, just because, again, we know that Robinson is on that roster. Again, surprising and active this past week, but one would have to think, they did just trade for this guy not too long ago, so one would have to think that he would be in the mix to take over the job for Carter at this point moving forward. Now, even he is somebody I'm not really 100% relying on, just because the Jets' offense as a whole hasn't been anything too great. I guess outside of Garrett Wilson, it's really kind of hard to trust anybody on that offense.
What about JaMychal Hasty?
Yeah, I have him on my list of waiver wire pickups for this week. If ETN is out, it looks like that job is all his. That's even a little bit stretching to say, because they are the team that put in the waiver claim on Darrell Henderson, just to make things even more muddled for that situation down there right now. So the timing couldn't be worse for ETN, especially as we get to closer to the fantasy playoffs and things of that nature. But it's kind of it's kind of hard to even trust that. We would think, based on what we've seen these past couple of weeks, that it will be Hasty, but who knows? We might get surprised that it'll be Henderson. But yeah, Hasty was a guy I would definitely want to pick up this week. It's kind of like I alluded to in the article. It's that time of the year just to pick up any and all handcuffs. They are a lot more valuable right now. Just this past weekend, what Samaje Perine did in replacement of Mixon is a perfect example why you want to have any and all backup running backs, because especially for the high-end ones that are going to get a lot of work, just because that if somebody goes down, then it's going to be all theirs.
He is Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. He joins us as we look ahead to waiver wire Wednesday. Joe, I've got DeAndre Hopkins on a bye in one of my leagues this week, and the only other wide receiver I had been holding was Romeo Doubs. I'm realizing, holy crap, I really screwed this up. I don't have a wide receiver. I don't know how this occurred, so I need to find something. What might be out there that could help me?
Well, not to rub salt in the wound, but Zay Jones this past weekend for the Jaguars, if he's available, he's got 24 targets the past couple of weeks. He's got 4 games this season where he has double-digit targets, so he does get a significant amount of looks. He's not going to get the same volume as, say, Christian Kirk, because Christian Kirk operates out of the slot. But Zay Jones, when healthy, he looks like he's somebody that it was kind of unbelievable how how often he was open yesterday against that Ravens secondary. So if he's somebody that's available to you, he's getting the work. He is kind of lower in the roster ownership, so he might be somebody that you can throw out there at least for a week. And because, again, next week there is, and I know I've mentioned this before, we only got 2 teams on a bye this week, 0 last week, but we got a whopping 6 on week 14, which is
makes all the sense in the world.
Fantasy football. It makes a lot of sense.
Totally logical that's how the NFL has done things. You have 6 teams on a bye in week 14. Very, very logical. You are not inclined after a big game to suddenly think that Mike White can be the answer to anybody who's having quarterback problems.
Absolutely not. We saw last year, I think it was his very first start. He came in, he lit the world on fire, and then the following game, he was a turnover machine. I mean, there was a reason why he was behind Zach Wilson, let's just face it. Even it's got to the point now where Joe Flacco might be the best quarterback that's on that roster. We'll never know. But I want nothing to do with the Jets offense. It kind of opened up a little bit with Garrett Wilson. Even Elijah Moore had a little bit of life yesterday. They probably are a little bit of a better passing offense right now, but I want nothing to do with that White mania that's going on up in New York right now.
Yeah, I probably am inclined to agree. I guess this gets to and this is not waiver wire because presumably he's been picked up in every league that you have. But where you at with if you picked up Deshaun Watson, feelings about him personally aside, are you playing him this week? Are you saying the hell with the fact that he hasn't played in 2 years? This is Deshaun Watson that we're talking about. He's got to be in your lineup.
Yeah, so that's what's going up on my piece today, and that's what's kind of so hard to figure out. One, the matchup is definitely in his favor. The Texans' defense is terrible this year. I've been targeting them just about every week when it comes to daily fantasy, and that kind of helps into how you evaluate what, it's a little bit of a revenge game. The Texans defense kind of stinks, but at the same time, he hasn't played football in a couple of years. We can't expect him to just go in there right away and just be, the top 5 quarterback that he was before all these shenanigans went down. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to get in rhythm. I do think this, just for maybe a week or so, kind of bumps down Amari Cooper, who once again is just having a terrific season. I do think it's going to bump up everybody else the rest of the way. That being Peoples-Jones and David Njoku, maybe even a little bit of Kareem Hunt out of the backfield. I think in the long run it will help them out, but at least for the first, let's say, week or so, even though the matchup is juicy, I kind of want to wait and see before I'm putting in Watson into my starting lineups. There's got to be at least 12 guys you can rely on right now. Now, if you're outside, let's say you were banking on Stafford or Kyler Murray, who's, kind of been battling injuries these past couple weeks, then, yeah, give Watson a shot if you're, at the end of the barrel there.
I would say, what about Watson versus Aaron Rodgers this week?
Oof. Who the Packers got again this week?
Well, first of all, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, right? Like, we got to start with that.
Oh, that's also true. Yeah. That's also very true in its own right.
I'm saying, I think it's totally possible that at this point it's just done, right? Like, a lot of people believe that, Jordan Love's just going to be the guy moving forward because they want to see him and because the Packers stink, right? But if Aaron Rodgers plays, it is a good matchup against the Bears. That's a Mike Glenn Clark issue. I think it's gonna be taken out of my hands.
He owns the Bears.
I don't think he's gonna play. I think they're gonna stick it out.
I don't know. I agree with you there. I don't think he is gonna play with this week with the injury. And you kind of said it too. It's time for them to see if Jordan Love is the answer there, at least for these 4 or 5 weeks. Why risk getting your franchise quarterback injured? Granted, he's probably not the franchise moving forward. They can kind of see what's going on with Love. And before you even ask, another person I need to see it before we start talking about him in fantasy is Jordan Love. I need to see something there before I even want to consider that. Watson considerably ahead of him when it comes to that.
I get that. Anybody else we haven't talked about that we need to cover?
I kind of talked about it last week, but I'll mention again. This is that time of the year. Get your handcuffed running backs. I just said it before. Samaje Perine was a guy that filled in admirably this past week. He was, I believe, ended up being a top 10 fantasy running back this week, and even he didn't do a whole lot. So go out there and, I know in one of my leagues I've been holding on to Kareem Hunt all year. It doesn't seem like it's going to do much for me, but if something happens to Chubb, I have an all-world running back there. The same thing goes for maybe a unhappy A.J. Dillon owner. Add them, and if something happens to Aaron Jones, I've talked about Alexander Madison, Kenneth Gainwell, Dontrell Hillard. You can just go down the line of the top handcuffs. It's that time of the year you want to own those guys in the event something was to happen to the player ahead of them, and we got yourself what we call a fantasy football lottery ticket.
There you go. At Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, you see his stuff at PressBoxOnline.com every day. Joe Serpico, appreciate you, man. We'll talk again next Tuesday, all right?
You know I will talk to you then. Take care.
Joe Serpico with us here on GCR. Hey, today's show is also brought to you by Guilford Hall Brewery. If you've not been, what are you waiting for? It is a gem in our city. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North, an unbelievable place. They've got a delicious Bavarian-inspired menu. They've got the great craft beer selection, including the Guilford Hall Lager. Tremendous events throughout the week, live music, bar trivia, yappy hour, so much going on at Guilford Hall Brewery. Find out more at guilfordhall.com. Quickly, a couple of people that have gotten in this morning from Joe, not Joe Serpico, a different Joe. Joe chimes in and says, Glenn, you're probably right about what you're saying, but I do feel at some point like you can't ignore the correlation between the penalties and how late they're snapping the ball. I don't know where the Dolphins are with penalties, but it seems like they are more purposefully snapping late, whereas the Ravens are more panic snapping late. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I got to try to pull it up again. Jonas' story did cover the penalties, but I don't know if it compared. Oh, hang on a second. Let me go right back to it. Jonas Schaefer again today at BaltimoreSun.com in Ravens film study. Most delay of game penalties. The Ravens are tied with the Broncos, Packers, and the Seahawks. The most delay of game penalties with 6. So, yeah, that's the obvious problem there. Now, it doesn't tell me, I don't know if the Dolphins also have 4 or 5, and if it's part of the cost of doing business, for example. If you want to run an offense that is more determined, that buys yourself more of an opportunity to think through a play, do you accept it as kind of collateral damage? And I think we also have to be fair about that number. It's 6, and that's not acceptable, but there's a big difference between 6 and, 1 every game. You shouldn't be getting delay of game penalties. I get it. This is the NFL. That shouldn't be happening. And if you want to compare to the other teams that have 6, the Broncos, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Packers have not been very good. The Seahawks, don't know what to make of the Seahawks any longer. But for the most part, they've been a good football team. So I still don't know that there's something clear there. Again, it's enough. I have said all along, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's acceptable. But are you ripping the Band-Aid off and saying we have to move quicker, we have to go up tempo, we have to have better pace, or is it just trying to clean up exactly at what point you're getting to the line of scrimmage? I would tend to think that it's more the latter than it is the former. I don't think that you should be snapping the ball this late in the play clock. I'm with you on that. All right, when we come back in, big week ahead for Maryland basketball. 2 big games starting tonight against Louisville. We'll preview that, talk about everything else going on in the college basketball world with our buddy Patrick Stevens. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
UMBC basketball is back at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena, and tickets are available now at umbcretrievers.com. Don't miss any of the great early season matchups as the men take on local rivals Coppin State on November 30th and Morgan State on December 10th, while the women square off with American on December 18th. Experience the excitement of game day at the Peak by getting your tickets right now to come see the Retrievers at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Lock yours in at umbcretrievers.com.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Again, don't forget, mobile sports betting is here, and PressBox has partnered with all sorts of the area's sports betting houses? I don't know what you call them, to offer you some great deals for sign-ups and free bets, things along those lines. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Again, that's PressBoxOnline.com/offers. It is a Tuesday edition of GCR. On Tuesdays, we talk college hoops with our guy at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter. Of course, you see his stuff at the Washington Post and WashingtonPost.com. He is Mr. Patrick Stevens. He's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good to talk to you as always, my friend. How are you?
I am well, Glenn. How are you doing this
Everything
morning?
is good, sir. I guess we'd start by saying it is an important week, obviously, for Maryland. This one tonight, it's so weird because Louisville is very, very bad to start this season. What is this as far as is the test more really Maryland hasn't played a true road game yet this year?
Yeah, I mean, Louisville's really bad. Like you said. Like I mean, it's kind of hard to get around it. They did some scheduling malpractice at the start of the season by playing some good one-bid league teams like Bellarmine and Wright State and App State. And lost all of them, and then went out and got blasted in Maui for 3 games. It's a team with a first-year coach that had a firing in the middle of last season and basically has only one guard, which is really not ideal.
No.
When you think about it, having one ball handler, and he's not even a true point guard in L. Ellis, and he's really good, but they are overmatched in many, many ways. And so, I think that as much as anything, you don't want to be the team that takes the loss to Louisville, because that's going to be a stain on you for the rest of the season. Even if you lost to a Coppin, not that it's going to be good, but you could sort of plausibly come up with reasons why you would have lost that game. And you could plausibly come up with a scenario that Coppin winds up winning, 15, 17 games, something like that. You can't do that with Louisville. Louisville's not going to win 10 games this season. Louisville might not win 5 games this
season. Yikes.
So,
wow.
The only thing saving them is there's a handful of teams at the bottom of the ACC that aren't very good either. So, but at this point, this is one that you got to get. And yes, you're going on the road, but you played 2 neutral site games. It's not as if they haven't been away from campus or anything like that. But this is one, the next 4 games after this, you can come up with reasons already why you might lose any of them. But this is one that you got to get. In some ways, it's certainly, there's a far greater onus on these guys, and I would say this whether they were 6-0 or 4-2. There's a far greater onus on this game than there was either of those games up in Connecticut.
You bring up the next 4, and obviously Friday night, we like to preview the week. Friday night sort of stands out as what might be the first opportunity for a big crowd in College Park and for a real statement game as Maryland opens up Big Ten play. Things really, again, they got to get this done tonight, but things really seem to step up big time Friday when Illinois comes to town.
Yeah, and the thing is that they have a pretty long...
Patrick, I apologize. We're having a little bit of an issue phone-wise. I don't know what's going on. It's probably on our end, and I apologize for that. We're going to go ahead and try to get that straightened away real quick, and we'll let Patrick Stevens tell us a little bit more about Illinois, who comes to College Park on Friday night. Let me try that one more time. Patrick Stevens, I'm sorry, sir. Tell us a little bit more about Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois, they have... to this point, they're 5-1. They lost to Virginia. No shame in that. They beat UCLA. Most of the other games that they've played are not particularly remarkable. None of the teams in the top 250 in the KenPom rankings to this point. They're playing good defense. Terrence Shannon has been playing really, really well for them so far. He's a transfer from Texas Tech and has been an impact addition for them. They obviously are different than they were the last few years. They were so built around Kofi Coburn. And you could tell when they came to town last year and Coburn was injured that basically they didn't have a way to play that was effective if he wasn't there. And that's, that was one of the noteworthy victories that Maryland got last season was when Illinois was in town. And in fact, they have a very good history against Brad Underwood in that building. So between his time at Illinois and at Oklahoma State. But it's a good Illinois team. I thought coming into the season that if you were sitting there kind of sizing up the Big Ten, I thought they might end up being the best team in the league. Purdue obviously has a case of that. I'm not as sold on Indiana as some other people, but they're certainly a top-tier team. Michigan State, there's certainly some good teams at the top of the league, but I liked a lot of the pieces that Illinois has. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for pace, they're the 11th fastest playing team in the country at this point. So for all the talk of wanting to go fast and whatnot and move, there's going to be an opportunity for both teams to do that. Maybe not necessarily quite 1989 Final Four fly-in-Illini type, but they are definitely an up-tempo bunch.
I guess the question would be, Maryland depth-wise, are they ready for that type of tempo type game on Friday?
It is a perfectly fair question, and I suspect, for what it's worth, as I kind of you size up the KenPom numbers and you're trying to dissect them, Maryland is 234th in tempo this year. And compared to last year, they were 211th. So you would think that they're actually even slower. I don't know if I entirely agree with that, because when you look at the actual average possession length on offense, Maryland's 119th, and on defense, it's 299th, which means they're getting their shots quickly, and they're basically forcing teams to play defense longer. I think they're a little bit faster paced than they were last year. In reality, though, they're not like Illinois. And so I suspect, like you say, with the depth issues in particular, that we're going to see Maryland maybe kind of putting a halt to some things here and trying to lean on a defense that I think has impressed a fair bit here in the early go.
He is Patrick Stevens. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Patrick, on the local front, I know Towson took their first loss, but it was, playing 3 games in 3 days. They bounce back nicely. They get a couple of wins. What stood out to you on the local front over the course of the last week?
Well, that was one of the things. I think that the way that they put away Coppin State Tuesday night going into that event. I mean, they basically played 4 games in 6 days.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy thinking about just the amount of effort that they put in. They're already 7-1 heading into December. And I think if you'd offered Pat Scarry 7-1 with that schedule, he probably would have taken it, knowing that there were 3 neutrals and 3 roads in there. I think the game you would have guessed they might have lost was UMass, a team that's made them look better and better as the month unfolded. But I think at this point they are kind of what you would expect them to be, which is a team that, along with Charleston and Hofstra, looks like that top tier of the Colonial is very, very good. Let's give a shout out to Navy as well, handling Mount St. Mary's on Saturday morning, beat them by 16 to improve to 5-1. And so the Mids at this point, they have the loss to Coppin State, but they've won all 4 of their home games. They've done some good work to this point. And so now they're basically on the road for pretty much all of December, except for 1 game against Washington College. We'll see how they handle that. There's some interesting games. They go to Lipscomb this week. They go to West Virginia and Towson the following week. They go to VCU and then to Boston U to open league play. So that's a couple teams that at this point warrant a mention locally speaking. I should mention Mount St. Mary's being able to pick off a couple games on its West Coast swing before that loss to Navy, beating both Cal Poly and Pacific. So they're 3-4, and their opener in their new conference, the Metro Atlantic, comes up Thursday night up at St. Peter's in New Jersey.
Okay, is the Metro Atlantic's playing on Thursday nights now? That's not a Friday night league any longer.
No, it's usually Friday.
Okay,
but
all right.
I'm not sure what it is at this time of year. They're just simply wedging this in Thursday, Saturday, or maybe it was that Mount had. I haven't looked at it too closely, but it could be a deal. Yeah, it looks like there's some other Friday, Sunday games. It's possible Mount had some games already locked in.
Got it.
Like they play American on Tuesday, and so it might have just been,
Want to separate a little.
Bump it back a day.
I get
it. Yeah.
I get it. Makes all the sense in the world. You brought them up already. I would think the big national – I know there's a ton of national stories because there were so many events going on, but it's not just that Purdue beat Gonzaga and Duke out in Portland. They whipped their asses out there in Portland over the weekend. To me, that's got to stand out among the biggest national stories in college basketball.
It is right up there, and I think it's funny when Purdue was really good early last season, and everybody's sitting there fretting about, their offense is good, but what's going to happen when with their defense? And that was something that followed them throughout the season. There's no question. But even though they graduated some guys last year, even though Travion Williams is gone, even though Jaden Ivey's gone, guess what? Their offense is still really good. And when you look at what Purdue has been able to do here over really the last 5 or 6 years, I mean, it's pretty remarkable that in the last 5 full seasons, they've ranked in the top 5 in adjusted offensive efficiency 3 times. So, that transcends who the actual players are at a given moment. It means that you've got a really good system and a coach that's really good at finding pieces that fit into it. So, their setup actually, I think that's a team that could very easily take an undefeated record into the new year. Think about this. They've got at Florida State, who's a complete mess right now. Minnesota, a feisty Hofstra team at Nebraska, Davidson on a neutral court, and then in Indianapolis, and then New Orleans and Florida A&M, and that's their schedule.
Yeah, it sounds pretty likely. Yeah.
So I think that we're going to be we should get used to talking about them as a top 5 to top 10 team here, at least for another month or so. And even when you look at the start of their conference schedule, Rutgers at home, which not easy, but it's in West Lafayette. At Ohio State, a good team. Penn State. In a game that's going to be played at the Palestra, and then Nebraska at home, face them a second time. I mean, there's a real chance that might just be the last undefeated standing when all is said and done.
I remember thinking a year ago that, like, just looking at Zach Edey, I'm like, that's an alien that I'm looking at. Like, nobody looks like that dude. And somehow he seems like he's even better this season.
Yeah, the numbers would certainly suggest that at this point, wouldn't they?
It's unbelievable.
So, when you're 7'4" and 295 pounds, I mean, you start when you got those dimensions, like I'm not comparing him to like a Ralph Sampson. But when you start thinking about 7'4" guys that can do a lot of different things, that's one of the first names that comes to mind. So he's obviously having himself quite the start to the season. But it's not like he's the only guy that they've got. Fletcher Lawyer has had some fine games so far for them. You kind of look around. The freshman class, Braden Smith has played a pretty big role for them too. So a lot to like, and kind of looking at this, that these freshmen are probably going to get better as the season goes along, or at least you would hope. And so, I guess the question there is there a wall, or do they just keep on chugging along nicely? But regardless, it's going to be a great home court advantage that they'll have all season. And already with those victories over Gonzaga and Duke, like you mentioned, and also, West Virginia and Marquette are pretty good victories too, have the potential to hold up. They're already chugging along towards yet another tournament berth under Matt Painter out there in West Lafayette.
Do you want to use this time to share some of your fondest memories of the ACC Big Ten Challenge as the sad trumpet plays and it meets its untimely death?
So we are going now to discuss how the big news is that TV has replaced two different. I saw your
tweet yesterday. And I think it feels like most people are assuming it's going to be like they're just going to flip flop and Fox will end up running a Big 10, Big 12 thing in the future.
Quite possibly. I think that when you kind of size it up, I'm trying to think here. Well, I can think of a few things that probably aren't the things that come to mind, like Michigan State and Virginia playing a half in Richmond early in the history of the challenge, and then having like the roof leaking or condensation on the floor in the game.
I forgot about that.
That's one that comes to mind. I don't think we really need to revisit all the number of times that, say, Virginia played Wisconsin. I feel like that happened 5 or 6 times over the course of the years. I'm trying to think of a few other of those matchups that it felt like. How many Michigan State Dukes did we have over the years? It feels like, and how many like Florida State Minnesotas? I think we had a bunch of those too. In the early years of the challenge, by the way, when neither team was any good.
Do I remember, and the reason why I remember this is very random, do I remember that Maryland's first ever Big Ten ACC Challenge game was in Baltimore with...
It was against Iowa.
And why do I feel like there was a story about Juan Dixon's jersey from that game? Like, I'm going to have to...
Let's go to the videotape on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and dive in on that. I feel like Juan and I ended up talking about it somewhere along the line because someone brought something for him to sign somewhere, and he knew exactly what game it was from. Is there Patrick, I might be talking completely out of... I feel like there might have been a moment like that he had to wear the number 5 in that game because there was an issue with a jersey. Now, I
feel like he did wear number 5 for a moment. I don't remember if it was that game.
Yeah, maybe I'm putting two memories together. I have certainly done that. I just feel like this is a conversation that came up when I did an event with Juan Dixon down the road because someone had a poster they wanted signed, and he was like, "Dude, I remember everything about that." And he laid it all out in front of me, and I was like, "Wow, that is really amazing that you remember that so well." But I don't know. I could be misremembering things, but yeah, the first ever Maryland Big Ten ACC Challenge game in Baltimore, years upon years ago. All right, let's play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name all of the MLB teams this particular player has played for? Speaking of ones, my first one up, a little bit trickier, but it was interesting because I realized how quickly I could name 3 of these teams. I couldn't name the 4th. Only a one-time All-Star, but a 2-time World Series winner. Juan Guzman is our first name this week. 4 teams.
All right, so Juan Guzman was obviously a Toronto Blue Jay,
of course,
and a Baltimore Oriole,
of course,
and I'm pretty sure he was in Tampa Bay too.
He was. So that was the one I didn't remember. The third one I remembered only because I remembered exactly why he left Baltimore.
Now that I don't remember. So he left Baltimore, what, in like 99, was it?
Yes, that would have been after the Orioles did not, like, they remember this was like they were trying again with Will Clark and Delino DeShields, they thought they could put something together and it wasn't very good. They realized it wasn't very good, so they dealt a few players at the deadline that year.
Did he end up in St. Louis that year?
Oh, no, it wasn't. You're so close, though. You're so close. He was shipped to Cincinnati in exchange for
Cincinnati. Okay.
B.J. Ryan. I remember it well for reasons I don't know how to explain. But yes, he ended up in Cincinnati in the B.J. Ryan swap, so that was the fourth. All right, so we can go either way on this one. How about we'll stay of local interest. How about the 4 teams for Mark Teixeira?
Mark Teixeira was a Ranger.
Of course.
And he was a Atlanta Brave.
Yes, he was.
And he was a Yankee at the end.
Obviously, that's the one that burns everyone.
I'm missing somebody. I'm missing like a trade deadline, right?
Yep, he was a trade deadline.
Was he an Angel there?
That's the one, 4 for 4. Nicely done. I had forgotten that Mark Teixeira was an Angel. I had completely forgotten about that. I'm imagining a busy schedule this week. Where are you headed?
Head to American University tonight to see the Eagles, who had a nice victory over Georgetown last week. First time that they beat Georgetown in 40 years. So big fun times in Tenleytown.
Yeah. UMBC not quite able to follow that up with a win over Georgetown.
Not quite able to pull it off. Yeah. GW has South Carolina and the number 1 freshman in the country, Gigi Jackson, in town on Wednesday. Maryland and Illinois come Friday. And then on Saturday, I'll be over at George Mason, which is taking on one of the top teams in the Mid-American Conference, Toledo. So that's going to be an interesting mid-major game over there. Certainly had some choices on Saturday. You have Mount St. Mary's playing its first conference home game in its new league against Ryder at 4 o'clock up in Emmitsburg, and that certainly had some appeal, and Georgetown's home too. But that's kind of how the week stacks up. And then, of course, it'll be bowl season here, just before we know it here. Maryland getting its bowl bid announced come Sunday afternoon.
And Patrick, of course, has traveled to all of the exotic locations over the years, including Boise, Idaho, for Maryland bowl games.
I think that's actually the last one I've done that's out of town.
Oh, yeah. The Military Bowl obviously makes sense. Yeah. But it could be a super – imagine if it was Detroit. How could you possibly pass up on a trip to Detroit in late
day after Christmas?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to be there? All right. At Discourse, D1S Course, Washington Post. As always, Patrick Stevens, appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome, Glenn. You take care.
It's Patrick Stevens joining us here on GCR. Appreciate him, as always. I got to dive into that Juan Dixon story, see if I'm right about it. Today's show is also brought to you by Glory Days Grill. The Comfort Classic Winter Seasonal menu is available right now. It features the Twisted Ribs and Wings combo, the Winter Spinach Salad, the Citrus Salmon, the Mac and Cheese Bites. For dessert, let's all say it together.
Oh, my God.
So good. Pair it with a blood orange bourbon cider. Devil's Backbone Cranberry Smash. It's all wonderful. I mean it. It's not just Griffin doing that for shtick. He really likes the bourbon butter cake that much.
I do. I really do.
I believe he's had to. Never mind. I was gonna make a wet dream joke about that, but it feels inappropriate.
It's not a joke. It's true.
Okay, there we go. Now Griffin said it. It's fine. There's certain things. We're shooting some video down at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel yesterday, and I made a joke, and then I was like, all right, we might have to cut that. And Griffin was like, no. It's good. It's good. We can leave it in. I said, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website. Get your order in. How about a tidbit? Tidbit is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
All right, kind of in the same vein as yesterday's, where it's a very kind of hand-picked stat, but it has to do with the Chiefs. Travis Kelce now has the most receiving yards in a tight end's first 11 seasons in NFL history.
All right.
Kelce is also but he's only in his 10th season.
It's not that surprising.
It's not that surprising, but it is only his 10th season, and he did not catch a pass as a rookie. So
okay, I didn't realize that. That's kind of remarkable.
So can you name? Let's see. How many would I like you to name here after Travis Kelce? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should be able to get the next 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, let's do the next 9. So you can tell me the top 10
for
most receiving yards in their first
11
seasons by tight ends.
I mean, Gronk didn't get to 11 seasons, but I still think he's on the list.
You would be correct. He had 9,003.
How many years did he actually play?
286.
Maybe he did because he came back at the end. Maybe he ultimately got to 11.
It was just to finish out this stat.
Just to make sure that he qualified for the stat because of the 2 years in Tampa. Did they get him to 11 seasons? Because he
11, exactly 11.
Exactly 11. Does that include the year he was hurt though?
Yeah, because it's all the years that. He was,
so I don't think he actually played 11 seasons. Like I think he played. I mean, obviously he was hurt a couple of times, but didn't he miss? He missed.
He missed half a season twice, and then
didn't he miss an entire season at one point?
18, 17, 16. 15.
No, all right.
No, yeah, it looks like he didn't miss an entire.
Right.
I don't
when
think
he had his bionic arm.
He didn't play in 19. But that was because he was retired.
Right, that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay,
but he is on the list. He is on the list.
Shannon Sharp.
Yes, Shannon Sharp is 6th. Gronk was 4th for what it's worth.
Jason Witten.
Jason Witten is 3rd, 9.8 thousand yards.
How about Antonio Gates?
Antonio Gates is between Gronk and Shannon Sharp 5th.
Tony Gonzalez.
He is 2nd. That is who Kelsey surpassed this past week.
Greg Olson.
Greg Olson he is on the list. He is 7th. Yes, 7th. No, 8th.
Okay. He's on the list.
He's on the list though.
It's the important part.
7,556.
It gets trickier from there because then you're comparing like older tight ends that weren't as productive, but did they do enough to make the list? Like, say, an Ozzie Newsome.
And Ozzie Newsome did do enough. He is on the list, right behind Greg Olson.
I'll throw Jackie Smith out there again.
He would be right outside the top 10. He is 11th.
Okay, I mean this is the issue. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 more.
Correct.
There's 2 more.
1 active, 1 recently retired.
Is George Kittle already there?
George Kittle's not there.
So 1 active that's played 11 seasons, or that's played enough to make the list. Do they have to have played 11 seasons in order to make the list?
I guess not necessarily, but I think they both have. Let me double check here.
Someone who's active, an active tight end who's played 11 seasons in order to be able to make the list. Huh. Oh, Jimmy Graham. Is he still active?
Yes, it is Jimmy Graham. He's not still active. But,
okay, but he's the other one?
He is one of them.
The one that's
There's
still
one more.
active
Actually, he has not played 11 seasons.
He's not played 11 seasons. But he's played more than, say, Mark Andrews has.
Yes, he has.
Hey.
He's in his 10th season.
He's in his 10th season. Oh, man. God. 10th season.
He is number 10 on this list.
Number 10 on the list.
7,247 yards.
7,247 yards.
Meaning he must be.
I really don't know. That's the difficult part. Like, Dalton Schultz hasn't been in the league for 10 years.
Mm-mm.
Who's been in the league for 10 years?
He spent...
Tyler Eifert.
Is not Tyler Eifert.
Kyle Rudolph.
Is not Kyle Rudolph. Spent most of his career in one
place. Say
place.
Those are good guesses. I like it when you say those are good guesses.
Well, they're okay guesses.
Shut up. Jerk.
He spent the first 8 years of his career in one place.
First 8 years of his career.
And was traded last year.
He was traded last year. Most was traded last year. Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz.
I was too scared to say it.
Zach Ertz. Well, then why would you be afraid of that? I'm going to shock you or something? Like that you got to go to the gulag?
I thought he'd be like...
You guessed incorrectly? What a weird thing to say. I was terrified. I thought you were going to slap me upside the face Will Smith style if I guessed incorrectly. I just guessed. What did Griffin thought I had 2 bad guesses.
He said Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph was in the same place for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for a while, and he's been productive. Shut up. That's a good guess.
I thought I was going to say something, and you'd be like, Mike, he was drafted in like 2018 or something
Zach
like
Ertz?
that. Well, I don't know.
He's been around for a long time. Was that your guess?
Yeah.
I bet you feel stupid that you didn't. Now now people might think you're lying.
Lost out on.
They might think this is a stolen valor situation.
I would have said that no matter what.
They think,
no matter what the 10.
They think that you might be trying to steal some valor here. All right. Tidbit was also brought to you today by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the perfect ceramic grill or tailgate for grilling, smoking, baking, searing, all kinds of food. Save $100 when you use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com and come see the Ginsu Kamado Grill in action this Sunday at the Ravens game or the Game Day Firehouse ahead of the Ravens game. 1202 Ridgely Street, the Firefighters Union Hall. You can register to win your own Ginsu Kamado Grill and $500 worth of grilling meats. Tubular is brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers, which is where you find the offers for mobile sports betting. Crazy thought. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Not only do you get the best deals, sign-up incentives, things along those lines, but you're also helping us out a little bit. We get a small commission from it. Helps us, feed our families. We're fine. We're not falling apart here or anything like that, but it's a win-win. So please, if you don't mind, if you're going to be doing it anyway, PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Check that out. Okay, now, as far as what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise, as we mentioned earlier, Maryland, Louisville in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, or ACC Big Ten Challenge, however you want to say it, 7 o'clock on ESPN2, followed by Georgia Tech and Iowa at 9. Morgan's at home tonight against Virginia University of Lynchburg at 6 o'clock. They're streaming it on their website. Obviously, the big one today. Do we have finals yet from the first two? I know Senegal was up on Ecuador.
Netherlands definitely is going to win. Yes, Senegal, they're in the 90th minute. Senegal is up 2-1.
So if those, what's the Netherlands situation?
Netherlands is in, I believe.
But, what's this? They had to win.
They did have to win, yeah.
They did have to win, but they were up 1-0 when I looked last.
They're up 2-0.
They're up 2-0.
93rd minute.
Netherlands is going to be on. If the score holds, Senegal would move on as well with the Netherlands to the knockout round. Later on today, on Fox, of course, Iran and the U.S. at 2 o'clock, and then on FS1, Wales and England at 2 o'clock. All the rest of the college hoops find at GlennClarkRadio.com. NBC Sports Washington for Capitals Canucks at 10. ESPN Plus and Hulu for Islanders Flyers at 7:30. TNT Warriors Mavericks at 7:30. Clippers Blazers at 10. The USA Network for WWE NXT at 8. Anything non-sports wise?
Let's see. They're showing Rudolph on CBS at 8, and then a new Christmas special called Reindeer in Here, where Adam Devine voices a reindeer.
Good. I'll watch Rudolph.
Well,
I can't do it tonight because obviously I'll be with Tyus Bowser.
Just
and
keep the
Marcus
channel
Williams.
on. We'll just keep CBS on, and then you can check out Reindeer. Let's see. Love Actually is doing a 20 years later ABC News special for some reason.
What?
Yeah. There's an ABC News special.
Is it just going to be people holding up signs outside of windows? To me, you are perfect. Is it just going to be that?
We'll have to find out.
That has certainly become iconic. There's no question
tonight.
about that.
Planet Sex with Cara Delevingne is the new Hulu series where she's just kind of exploring, going around the world, talking to people about.
If I'm being honest, the setup is
what they're into.
Planet Sex with Cara Delevingne. You've sold me so far.
Glenn, guess what comes out on Thursday?
Violent Night. You think I don't know that? I don't want to talk about it though because we were supposed to go see an advanced screening of it. They moved it to tonight, and I can't go because I'm going to be with Tyus Bowser and Marcus Williams, where you guys should be. However, if you would like passes, first of all, shame on you for not joining us with Tyus Bowser's show. But if you would like passes to an advanced screening of Violent Night tonight at Arundel Mills, get in, make your $25 donation to the Helping Up mission, and let me know. And not only will you get in on the raffle, but I'll throw in a pair of passes to tonight to see Violent Night at Arundel Mills for an advanced screening. I will be going for sure on Thursday. That will be happening. It just keeps getting better and better every time I watch the trailer. I'm like, God damn it, this looks like the greatest movie of all time.
I've just been seeing the trailer more and more, on everything.
I'm so angry that I can't go tonight. I'm so beside myself pissed off about it. Anyway, anything else quickly?
The highlights will be up. Those are the highlights.
Thanks today to Patrick Stevens. Thanks also to Joe Serpico as well as to Desmond Armstrong. We get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. We're going to make a controversial path tomorrow as far as our celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Ravens Super Bowl 47 win. By far the most controversial member of the team. Well, I don't know, maybe a different type of controversial. Controversial amongst Ravens fans. We are going to choose to have Bernard Pollard on the show tomorrow. I know you guys don't like Bernard Pollard any longer. I know you get pissed off about Bernard Pollard, but he was on the team. And so we're going to talk to him tomorrow. And we've had him on before. We'll talk about all of it. Bernard Pollard joins us tomorrow. Gus Johnson is going to join us tomorrow. And I don't even know what we're talking about, but I don't care because it's Gus Johnson, so I'm in, right? Anytime I get the chance to chat with Gus Johnson, yes is the answer. We'll get you segment number 1 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Marcus Williams and Stuff and Things tomorrow on the program. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, Guilford Hall Brewery, Great 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook, Problem Gambling, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, UMBC Athletics, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Micah at Micah.Ernest on Instagram. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass on Twitter. Follow us at Glenn Clark Radio, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We got to boost that TikTok number. We got to chase again this week. We got to come up with a strategy for that, Micah. We got to get that number up. We're doing brilliant content. Brilliant. Gold, Jerry Gold. All right. Have a great Tuesday night. Go Terps. Go Morgan. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. We will be right back with Simply the Bets. That's next.